welcome to season 2 of Eternal Midnight. I'm here with we've got a new guy, William. Here, he's from Canada, and we're gonna we're gonna be just talking about the Far From Home trailer and then a shitload of Spider-Man stuff. Nerd out a bit over Spider-Man.
Hell yeah!
Best superhero.
Yep. Whip.
Best Marvel superhero.
Oh yeah,
Not
yeah, I
true.
think so. But
Deadpool wins, but we'll move on from that for a second.
overrated. But
Fuck you.
Overrated.
I think that number one thing to say though is there's gonna be Endgame spoilers because Far From Home is the new trailer does have Endgame spoilers, so obviously talking about it we can't really avoid them.
Well, and especially like that, the new trailer that came out. I mean, if you stop and think about it, it's like the first Far From Home trailer. It gave us what we thought was going to be a story and plenty of like action set pieces.
Mhm.
But it's like now with the new trailer, it's almost like it retconned whatever story anyone thought we were going to get. You know what I mean? I think it's cool because now there's a bunch of
idea of a multiverse now as well.
Exactly.
Right. That first trailer also very much seemed like it was just going to be like a pre-Infinity War movie.
Yeah, it could have easily been.
Like that's what I thought, and I was like really sad about it at first. But then this one came out, and I was like, "Fuck yeah!" And then I got really sad because of the trailer, seeing what was going on, and I was like, "Oh no, I don't actually want this."
My biggest thing with trailer 1 was it looked really upbeat and happy, and just it felt like Homecoming in the same sense that he's sort of an optimistic, everything's going well, my life is great, nothing's going wrong, which is not what Spider-Man is.
Washington D.C. 2.0 is what that
exactly. Yeah, and it's like at his core, Spider-Man is a guy who, even in the worst, life that he's got, maybe he's living on the streets or some shit, he's always got that witty, happy attitude. But everything around him is so dark and depressing. But he's the one that brightens it, and I don't think Homecoming captured that particularly well, even though I love Homecoming. So I was thinking, oh, we're gonna get that again with Far From Home, but then you get the new trailer, which actually has Endgame spoilers, and the tone changed so much.
Kidding.
Like there's a scene with him crying.
So does he go to Mysterio's world? That's what I'm wondering. Like, does it seem like that, or does it seem like everything is taking place in our universe?
See, I don't think Mysterio is from another world. I think that the multiverse is real because the Russos confirmed it.
And Doctor Strange did his movie too. Exactly.
So we know the multiverse does exist, and I think what's happening is Mysterio is saying, "Oh, look, the snap has allowed me to jump." I don't think that's true. I think that the universes you could jump between them already. With Captain America did it. So I think the whole thing is probably just Mysterio going, "Oh yeah, I'm from another universe," and then he comes up with some random numbers that happen to be a universe that we know got wiped out after Spider-Verse, and the comics universe. That's how you know he's lying, because they're not going to suddenly pull a thing where, the main universe is the comics one. They're not going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree. I think it's just Mysterio pulling his fast one, trying to another good old fashioned Mysterio where he like tries to pull off that he's like a good guy and like something's going to happen throughout this movie, and all of a sudden Jake Gyllenhaal is going to go super fishbowl and just fuck up Peter's life even worse than it already is.
So you think they're still gonna go the Syndrome from The Incredibles route? Try to be a public hero, but then turn his back on everything at the end.
Yeah, probably because you know what, we might even see it because we might get the Endgame effect where like the trailer is actually really early in the movie, where so like all of the elemental fights could be like very beginning, and Mysterio like causes like saves Peter's life and like is the reason why they're beaten, and then but it's Spider-Man, so the entire world is like, oh, Spider-Man beat these people, and then he gets all the credit, which will piss off Mysterio. And then,
I actually had somebody try to tell me that the Elementals were going to be the main villains.
I couldn't see that because they have no personality or anything. Coming off of the edge of Vulture, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I said to them, and they're like, "No, the Elementals are going to be the main bad guys."
I think the Elementals are full on just going to be reduced to just being spells or.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be projections. I think Mysterio is using the same magic in the vein that Doctor Strange is.
Okay.
Because I will see, like, you can see that they kind of connected the two there, rather than in the comics where Mysterio has his own. I mean, sometimes he doesn't even have magic. It's just flat out a really bad magician.
Yeah.
So special effects,
And you want to tell me these are special effects? So I mean, holy shit, that's quite some.
Right. Yeah, they're destroying things.
Actually tearing down a bridge.
So I think they're doing the same thing with him that they did with Vulture
Mm-hmm.
by taking this honestly borderline cruddy kind of superhero villain dynamic and boosting him by giving him some offshoot of Doctor Strange's powers. Maybe have him be a really like a failed member of the Order before Strange gets there, and then he gets turned into that, and then he's like, I want to try to do my own thing, because he's probably seen Doctor Strange, especially with Infinity War, when Strange and Iron Man and Wong fight the initial invasion. So I guarantee you that there had to have been some kind of, video footage that went out and stuff like that. So he's probably like, this is my chance, and then goes in and gets the spotlight taken away, and then we get the big boss fight where it's Peter versus Mysterio. And
the biggest thing I want out of this movie, and they already did an Easter egg for it. James, you know exactly who I want, don't you?
Do I?
What country are they in?
Oh, Captain Britain.
Damn right. Yeah. I want
that would
Captain
be dope
Britain.
as fuck.
Yeah,
all I want is just, you know what? Make him a soldier then or something. And then near the end.
Oh, have the Britain Corps show up.
Or you know what I mean.
Imagine, okay, so they're facing the Elementals in London, and out of nowhere, Mysterio, Spider-Man, and the Britain Corps all fighting them at once.
That'd be so badass.
But honestly, by the way that they sound like your idea, William, that kind of works, because if you think about it, if they go down that route where Spider-Man is cleaning up after the mess of the Avengers, where every villain he faces is a product of something they've inadvertently done.
Right.
Vulture was created because of Iron Man, and then if Mysterio's created because of Doctor Strange, I think that's quite interesting, because then you could go down Green Goblin being created because of Iron Man as well, or another hero to have Oscorp compete with Stark Industries or something.
Especially now that Stark is gone.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And
you view it as, Stark's gone, Stark's dead, time for me to, be the biggest one in the city or whatever.
Exactly. I think if you keep having Spider-Man villains as the offshoot product of the Avengers, that really ties him to the world. And then good luck ripping him out, Sony.
Okay,
yep.
So...
they can't at this point. Like we talked about the other day, at this point, they've basically solidified he's staying.
Oh yeah, there's no way, and I don't think Sony, as stupid as they are, would do it. They're trying to design their own two universes now. That they have no place for Tom Holland in their new universes anyway.
No, nope.
Right, the Sony verse is gonna probably be kind of darker overall, with a light twist of the comedy that we saw like in Venom, but like the dark comedy. So.
Exactly. And then you've also got the
which is a breath of fresh air, to be honest with you. Like, as much as I'm loving the MCU and this direction we're getting with Endgame, that I hope it's going to transition, that kind of comedy, that dark comedy, is something that I'm a lot more akin to.
I just wish Venom was well made.
Well, especially now that Fox is gone, it's like
you need that.
We have the DC, which is still trying to figure out the perfect balance. So it's like, you know what? I guess let Sony do the dark, but like you said, just clean shit up. Don't make another Venom, please.
I'd rather it was under the supervision of Feige. Like he goes, okay, so you're not really in the MCU, kind of like Netflix. You're in the MCU, you can be tied. Sure, we can do some crossovers occasionally because we're still movies. People are going to see both. It's not going to be as obscure and uncommon as the Netflix ones. But it's sort of like if he handled the Venom movie, I think it would have been way better. And he could have went, well, we're using the Sony brand, not the Disney brand, so we can go a bit darker.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't inherently hate Venom. Like, and I also, as much as I like the movie, like I would never claim that it's like an amazing movie. I didn't hate Tom Hardy being Venom.
He wasn't the worst part.
He did really good, in my opinion.
It would have been worse without him. I think he pushed a lot for Venom to be more accurate comic-wise and less Spider-Man free.
I believe he carried that movie almost more than Jim Carrey.
Honestly, you know what I think? Honestly, in my opinion, you know what carried Venom? The symbiote itself.
I mean,
it was like Hardy seemed to, but it was so. I mean, it was so boring up until he got the symbiote. It was
That's true.
It was just like anytime I rewatch it, I fast forward to when the symbiote first comes out.
I will say my biggest complaint about the movie was just how lighthearted the symbiote was.
Yeah.
Because Venom, that was probably the most comic, and I'm not a purist by any means. I like Suicide Squad. So,
oh, that's a whole other thing.
No kidding.
It's a whole other problem. But the fact that he was just so lighthearted, even though like I get it, it's PG-13 and stuff, but it's almost like Eddie Brock should have been the more lighthearted of the duo. Because honestly, even though he didn't want to kill anyone, he still was darker than Venom. And that was a problem.
After reading Cates' Venom run, I'm just so disappointed with how they could have used stuff like that. I think if we'd gotten an adaptation of Cates' Venom run, okay, I don't know if it came out after, but something like that now would be great, where we see the origin of the symbiote and we don't really look at Eddie Brock, because fuck, Eddie Brock's some reporter that got pissed off and merged with a symbiote. We don't need to see that. If you show us the symbiote,
I much preferred their edition of Eddie Brock than the comics Eddie Brock.
Eddie Brock has never been that interesting.
No, he hasn't. But this movie version, in my opinion, was a lot better than the way he's been portrayed in pretty much everything else. He had a lot more personal. I liked Topher Grace in the Venom suit, and that was it.
I didn't like anything about. See, I guess the only thing I liked about the Topher Grace Venom was the roar. Yeah. That's about it. Other than that, he looked like shit compared to this Venom.
Oh, and the death scene. The death scene was actually kind of cool.
Okay. I'll give you that. That was legit.
And then him reaching out, trying to get out, and like screaming for his life just before the.
That was cool too. How they. How they barely mentioned that in the Venom movie. They barely mentioned really like the sound waves. They just kind of let it happen. They didn't go like, oh, what is your weakness? It just happened. Like, because remember the flash bombs that the SWAT. You got to admit the SWAT fight was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was so dope. And in the trailer, the mask on thing looks so bad. But when it was actually in scene, I was like, oh shit, that was so much more badass than I thought it was going to be. And he's...
I think something I would have loved to see to try and take Spider-Man into a darker direction in the MCU, I would have loved it if in Endgame and Infinity War he merged with a symbiote. Just on Titan. I think they missed such a huge opportunity there where we could have had a symbiote Iron Spider suit.
That he could have brought it back with him.
Okay, so... Symbiote Iron Spider just seems so convoluted and unnecessary.
Okay, but there was a symbiote dragon in the Venom comic, and that
now hold on.
So let's not. They've done way bigger stuff.
The Clintars are broken. Just ignore that. They just do what they want.
See, now imagine, right, okay, so either he ditches the suit or whatever, but either way, just having the symbiote in some form come back to Earth through Spider-Man, so that in Far From Home he can merge with it. He's he's grieving over Iron Man. He's already in a darker place. He's already more pissed off. He's more angry at the world than he has been. He's more depressed, and the symbiote
it's a perfect leap. Segue, you're right.
They would, and then you take him to a darker place, you mature him as quick as you can, and then Spider-Man 3, he's in his 20s and he's already fucking pissed off at the world and ready to snap.
So something that we were talking about earlier that kind of made me like really think about it and go back, and I had to check it in the trailer. So when we were talking about the whole Uncle Ben being replaced by the Tony Stark arc and stuff like that, and so on the topic of him maturing, he, even more so than he did at the end of Homecoming when he drops the suit, or he gets the suit taken away from him, but he puts on his homemade one and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed this. I know we saw a bunch of different suits, like the stealth suit and stuff in the trailer, but for the majority of his regular Spider-Manning, once he leaves New York, he's no longer using the Iron Spider suit.
I feel like
just
it's going to
using
malfunction.
His regular. I think it's either going to malfunction or it's going to be one of those like,
well, remember,
either I can't. This is making me remember him too much, or you know what? He was right. I'm gonna prove myself. Like ultimately, and just
remember in the first trailer, don't forget, they showed that scene in the trailer where he was debating if he was even going to bring the suit, and then he just quickly grabbed the one that he got in Civil War. So maybe he left Iron Spider at the Avengers compound or something, or wherever the Avengers are based now.
See, I think we're gonna see his arc where he's like, I'm not Iron Man. I'm not the next Iron Man. I'm the new Spider-Man.
That's what I was getting at.
Yeah. So I think he's gonna put down the Iron Spider suit and say, no, I'm my own Spider-Man. I'm not the next anything. I'm my own person. I think that's the arc we're gonna see. And when Nick Fury says you've got to step up, you've got to be, and I think he's gonna bite back. You know, I see that happening.
Because it's a different suit in the trailer than
Tony
had anyways.
Yeah. So I think the stealth suit will be so that his friends don't figure out who he is, which clearly fails.
Right. Thanks for giving that away, Sony or Marvel.
Yeah, that was a bit weird.
That little scene, like, oh, you're Spider-Man? No, of course not. It's kind of obvious.
They're showing too much in the trailer again.
Like, oh man, no.
I know, and you know this isn't going to be the last one. You know there's going to be at least one more.
I'm surprised because last time there's a European one right after that showed even more. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I'm not too sure what to think, but I liked the trailer though. I think it showed us a darker tone. It showed us, yeah, I mean, it was pretty ballsy to make a spoilery trailer. So I respect it. I think I'd rather than waiting weeks and weeks.
And then to force Holland to stand at the front and be like, "It's spoilerific, guys." Like, listen, you've been fucking us up for like 6 years now. You get to be the front runner. Go.
I'm really hoping the black and red suit is his own. I really don't want that to be made by S.H.I.E.L.D. I hope that's him saying, you know, I'm my own man. I'm going to make a suit that's better than Tony's was.
Right.
I think that would be
honestly, I'm really hoping that he drops the techie stuff.
Yeah, I'm hoping that
I want it to go back to basic. Like, that's his, and that will also be kind of sad because it'd be kind of like the final, like, Iron Man is dead, and just kind of be like, you know what? I'm retiring that suit, like, out of respect for Tony. Like, I'm not doing this anymore. And then he pulls on.
Got the
at least.
Well, because here's the big thing we're forgetting that's really going to be what helps Spider-Man in the end, is once he starts using and applying his spider sense, he's not going to need Stark's tech anymore.
No. I think Karen is a bit of a hindrance because I'd rather he just monologued. Like, that's the whole reason Karen exists. It's to give him a way to speak without speaking to the audience.
That is the one thing that Andrew whatever did right with the Amazing Spider-Man was just Spider-Man talking. It was so well done. And it was just like, if we can get Tom Holland to start doing what he did, I think it'll be almost a full package.
At least he's fighting in this movie, because I don't think he threw a single punch in Homecoming, but already in the trailer he's kicking people, hanging them from the ceiling, punching people.
Did he not? I thought he fought in Homecoming when he took on the Avengers in the bank. I thought he punched
he catch someone's fist and he webbed them, but I don't think he punched anyone.
Okay, that would make sense though, because I mean, if you think about it, he's still kind of childish at that. He's like a sophomore in high school at that point.
But then he gets to Thanos and he kicks him in the face. Magic kick.
Well, when he fought in Civil War, he was freaking kicking people.
Exactly, but then
he tried to take out Captain America and failed, but he tried.
Yeah. So... I do think that older Spider-Man will be stronger than Captain America if they do it right. I mean, they could completely fuck it up like they did with Hulk and Captain Marvel, but I really hope they put him right.
I had somebody tell me, they're like, there's no way Spider-Man should have lost to Captain America in Civil War. He's way stronger than him. I'm like, yeah, this was also his first real fight against a real hero, not just some thug. So, no, he should have lost. He'd never had battle experience before Civil War.
That was my thing in Homecoming. I was really hoping, I wasn't wanting another Uncle Ben scene because, it's been agreed. It's done. We know. Even just the talking about it was fine, but not an actual callback. But I kind of wanted to see what he was doing before. I mean, we know Iron Man's got a bunch of what was it, newsreels or something about that?
Yeah.
And heard about him, so basically him webbing up purse snatchers.
But if you think he's like a year or two new, so it would have been like treading on his origin story if you went and showed all that, which is kind of what they were staying away from.
Right.
I think that when they gave him the homemade costume and showed him working on it with Ned, we got elements of it though.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And then when he fought Vulture, that was a very sort of. No, I think it would have been like that, but with thugs, really.
Wait, which movie was it that had the after credit scene that was like, we've got guys that crawl on walls, we've got. I can't remember which MCU movie that was. I think it was Iron Man 2.
No, that was Ant-Man.
Was that Ant-Man?
Yep. It was Ant-Man.
Okay. So, yeah, that was kind of their whole, like,
because that was
Spider-Man's coming.
Because I guarantee that thing was, well, don't forget, Ant-Man came right after Age of Ultron, right before Civil War. So I guarantee that was one of those scenes that was shot, like, I'll bet you the day Feige and Sony reached their agreement that Spider-Man was going to be in Civil War, they immediately were like, go film a post-credit scene for Ant-Man and put something about Spider-Man in it right now.
Yeah.
Go do it.
Well, they originally had two scripts, one with Black Panther and one with Black Panther and Spider-Man for Civil War. So you knew they were planning for it. They had an idea. I think, though, in retrospect, Spider-Man and Civil War, it doesn't really make sense. It sort of takes away from Captain America's story. It's just thrown in there to be like, yeah, we have him.
Listen,
Civil War wasn't even Captain America's story. That was Iron Man's story.
That was Iron Man having a story after First Avenger. Like, once First Avenger was done, like, in all honesty, because every one of his sequels, or well, both of his sequels, have been essentially about someone else.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Winter Soldier, like, they under the veil, right? Under the veil of, Captain America loves Bucky and he misses him, but it's just like, nah, man, we're watching Bucky's arc. Like, this is what we're watching here. And then Civil War.
The third one was Iron Man 4.
No, I don't think it was that bad. I think it was.
It was. It felt honestly, like a more personal Iron Man story than anything.
It was Winter Soldier 2.
Like... Yeah, but think about it. Cap didn't even go through an arc or change in that movie. Tony did. Tony had more character growth in Civil War than anyone.
To be fair, until Civil War happened, and until like Secret Wars, or basically any huge event that alters the timeline drastically, Captain America does not have an arc.
No,
he's essentially he's Superman. That's what he does.
Superman. But
it's the Superman arc, but without all the crazy stupid powers. At least he's technically human. He will not survive a gunshot to the head if you happen to get him.
Right.
So
I know. I'm just saying it was like, I mean, at the end of the day, anytime I watch Civil War, which isn't very often, that's Iron Man's story. That's another Tony story. It almost feels like they're making up for Iron Man 3 with that.
I honestly always felt like it was a Captain America movie, but I don't know. I think the Spider-Man in it was great. Like, at the time, that was a huge fan moment, and everyone cheered in the cinema. They did an Endgame as well. Like, everyone loves Spider-Man. He might not make the most money, but people love him.
The thing about Spider-Man in Civil War that bothers me the most is that Spider-Man was actually one of the biggest, most influential characters in the comic series.
Well, yeah.
And then because of his whole changing sides, like realizing Tony is wrong and going over to Captain America and helping essentially turn the tide, and then Captain dies. Like, spoiler.
Cap quit. Cap just gave up and turned himself in and then went, I don't give a damn. That comic came out so long ago.
Spoilers for people who haven't read it, because I'm sure they just basically repeated the entire storyline in Civil War 2. But with Captain Marvel instead. But no. Well, no. He does. I thought he did end up dying in that. It's been a long time since I read it.
There's an aftermath story called Death of Captain America.
He died. I was gonna say at the very end of Civil War, it was just Cap gave up and his group got arrested. That's how it ended. He didn't die till afterwards.
I honestly think Spider-Man in that movie should have had more of an influence, but getting sent home was kind of a cop out. But I think it would have been pretty cool to see more of him. And then it would have justified his scene a bit more. But I'm really excited.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm really excited to see where his character goes though in future movies, because I think he should be the one that crosses over in everyone's movie now. I think now that Iron Man's gone, Spider-Man's the one which would fit in a lot of people's movies. Him and Doctor Strange.
I don't know, man. I'm still, and I mean, you said it earlier, but I definitely think that it almost makes the most sense for like Deadpool to pull up the Stan Lee thing, like everybody's been saying.
Yeah,
Like
I
I
don't want
get
more
that to
Stan Lee
me.
cameos.
Yeah, like if Deadpool was doing Stan Lee cameo type stuff, like it just almost would make the most sense
Yeah.
out of like of all the characters that are currently available to just like show up in other people's movies. Because I don't know, Spider-Man really isn't a supporting character in my mind. Like, and that's the thing that bothers me about him. Is like when that character gets on a roll, like he can lead entire arcs on his own.
Yeah, but
And
I
so
think when he's an adult and he's running his own company, I think he's the perfect candidate to jump ship from Friendly Neighborhood to Avengers and then introduce Miles. And then I think
Hmm.
he can be the whole I'm the tech guy, I'm the brains, I'm the new Tony of the Avengers, but he's friendlier and he's less arrogant and he's more,
well,
comforting and compassionate.
Hmm.
would you rather see uh Avengers Parker or Fantastic Five Parker or Freedom Foundation, whatever they called him at the
I'd
time?
rather see Avengers Parker. I think
Yeah.
right now, knowing how he has been in the MCU, he'd fit with them more. I would like to see him buddy around with Human Torch though in a duo movie, like Ant-Man and the Wasp.
That
Yeah,
would be awesome.
that would be kind of cool. A bit of a buddy cop kind of thing going on
Yeah.
with him.
See, I think the way they're going to do Fantastic Four, they should be young. And I think because of that, I don't really see them doing the whole Future Foundation anytime soon. So I'd
True.
rather he grows up, becomes an adult, leads the Avengers, and well, rather than leading them, he's a key member who funds them, gives them money. Because I don't think Black Panther's not got the time. He's a king, and Doctor Strange is guarding the Sanctum. So I think Spider-Man's the perfect candidate when he grows up. But
True.
so
Because
I
right
think
now the
That's true.
Avengers, there are no Avengers anymore. I mean,
no, not really.
the only ones who are really left now are Falcon and Scarlet Witch. Everyone else is disbanded or quit.
Yeah, so I want to see Parker Industries in the MCU. I really like that would be a great starting off point. That should happen in Spider-Man 3 in his 20s. Have him really show he's intelligent. He starts a company when he's like 19 or 20 and he becomes a millionaire by the time of Spider-Man 4 or 5 and he really gets off the ground. And then introduce Miles Morales and go from there. And you can have Silk introduced as well and have them as the sort of friendly neighborhood characters.
Oh, yeah, I would like to see Silken
Because we have Cindy
a
Moon
live action.
cast. She was in Homecoming.
She
You're
was?
right.
Yeah,
Yep, she
she's on
was.
the school television news thing.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
that was her.
right. Who
Yeah,
else was it who was on that? Who was the other person who was on it? Because I know they dropped another Easter egg name when they did that scene.
I'm not too sure. I know Betty Brant was it Betty Brant?
Yeah, it was Betty Brant.
Yeah,
That's
because
right.
she's
That's what I was
dating
thinking
Ned.
of.
She's dating Ned now, which is sort of like because he's Ned Leeds. I didn't realize that until until recently. I was like, holy shit, he's Ned Leeds. I thought they just called him Ned out of nowhere. That he's not really a character from the comics, but no. I guess he's Ned Leeds. He
It was
doesn't
a
look like.
refresher. Then it was a. Initially, I didn't really like Ned, but it's like after watching parts of the older movies, I'm like, you know what? I'm not. Aside from Spider-Man 1, I didn't really like Harry. I mean, he sucked
No,
ass, and I didn't like him in Spider-Man 2 or 3, and I definitely didn't like him in Amazing Spider-Man 2.
no. I
So it's
think
like, you know what? Get rid of Harry and try somebody else for once.
plus it's a character that I think I like what they're doing now, which is sort of the ultimate Spider-Man route, where because in 616 I'm reading it, I'm in the 80s now for context, and so far every single fucking time he does something I'm just sat there wondering how the hell's no one put two and two together. The only time people have, it's being their dying breath where they'll go, yeah, I knew, and he's like, oh shit, but then they're dead, so there's no impact. And I'm just left wondering how the hell's no one put two and two together. But then in the MCU, they're doing the ultimate thing where everyone's like, Peter, you fucking moron, you're doing such a terrible job at hiding your
Right?
identity. And that's more believable to me, a 15-year-old kid who puts a mask on and thinks he's getting away with it.
Well, perfect example, even in the PS4 Spider-Man game, Aunt May said it at one point.
Yeah, and I'm left wondering in the comics. There's times where I'm thinking, how have they not pieced it together, and why hasn't he said it? Because there's
'Cause she,
times where his whole life would just get so much better if he just went.
Listen, it's the Batman complex, man.
It is, because like
Nobody knows.
because Aunt May gets better because originally it was like, oh, she'll die of a heart attack if I tell her because it'll be too much stress. And then she starts to like Spider-Man. She's like, oh, Spider-Man's such a nice boy. Oh, he's really saving the world. And I'm like, how are you not dead yet? You're like 90. Anyway, and then
well,
Spider-Man.
perfect example. Look at her iteration in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Remember that? She knew, and she even helped like maintain like
Yeah,
Spider-Man's like spider cave or whatever.
exactly. Like I think Aunt May
She's
knowing
fucking
is
Alfred.
better. Oh, and
Jane Alfred.
have you noticed in the Far From Home trailer? I think it was the first or second one. She's basically got her own version of Feast going from the PS4 game. I don't know if that's in the comics or not.
Really?
But have you not know when
I
she's
didn't
giving the
notice that.
awards? When
You're
the
right.
awards ceremony? That's basically Feast, right? She's helping the homeless or whatever, something like
Mhm.
that. To me, that just screamed, "Oh, right, that's like in the PS4 game," and she's getting Spider-Man to promote it, which is pretty cool. I'm looking forward to that dynamic. Because her knowing is a lot better, I think. I prefer it when the characters can talk to him about it. I prefer when we get to see him interact to people about his secret
Yeah.
life.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we still haven't.
that end of the movie, what the fuck, was just perfect.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
we still haven't seen past that yet from her point of view. So it'll be cool seeing her
yeah.
how she is able to like now like comfort and speak to him
Well, she got
as
dusted as well.
Ooh, did
right.
she?
Yeah, they confirmed she got dusted, so she came back the same time he did, which is
Well,
really
that'll make it
convenient.
easier for us to not have to deal with the sadness of her being like, "Oh my God, you're back."
See, I think that would have been better because now basically everyone in his life got dusted,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
which to me is like, okay, maybe your friendship group did. I personally I would have said Flash did and then recast him as an older actor.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the rest of them, okay, whatever. But Aunt May and Flash, I wouldn't have dusted because I think you get a bulkier Flash who in those 5 years has joined the military, bulked up, and he's I think that would have been a better arc for Flash than what they're doing, which is always more comic relief.
Just
Ugh.
immediately jump into Agent Venom with him.
Yeah, and that's what I would have done. I would have had right in Infinity War Endgame. He gets the symbiote. He becomes Venom Spider-Man for a little while. And then you also have it so that Flash gets dusted, cast a new actor that looks similar, but he's bulked up. And then you can have it so that the symbiote latches onto Flash Thompson. Skip the whole Eddie Brock shit. And then you can have it so rather than him trying to do the whole Eddie Brock Venom thing where he's like, don't kill anybody, they try to calm it down and nullify it so that he can use it as a weapon, become his own Spider-Man. Because we know Flash loves Spider-Man. They already introduced that in Far From Home. So he uses the symbiote to become Agent Venom. I think that would have been really good.
That would be
Yeah.
cool.
And then you
That'd
could
be
also
way cooler.
I totally am forgetting from Homecoming. Did we ever get any of Peter's photography and stuff in Homecoming?
yeah, we did. At the start when he's recording the Civil War stuff.
Okay.
That was sort of
Yeah.
hinting at it, but he's
Well, I
so
was gonna
young
say, do you
now.
think we're ever gonna see like an actual Daily Bugle thing going on with
I
this
think
Spider-Man?
I saw something that confirmed we're going to in Far From Home,
Mm. See, I'm not sure if I'd
but
want
I don't
to
know.
because they did it so well in Spider-Man 1 and 2.
I'm not sure.
I'd rather see him go down the entertainment route. We haven't really seen that before, other than the wrestling that happened once, where he tries to sell his fame.
I
Does
think
news
I
interviews and
think
stuff.
I think after everything he's been through though, I don't think they'll go down that path though, because it's like after everything he went through in Infinity War and what he's going through after Endgame, I think that's definitely gonna have like matured his character up enough where
True.
he's not going to do that anymore.
But then I don't know what other jobs he has in the comics that he could do. Because
I mean, the lab tech thing has kind of been
Yeah.
the alternative. It's literally been the alternative.
Yeah,
Mhm.
So
that's what he's at the moment in the comics. He's both working for the Daily Bugle and he's a lab tech.
Mhm.
The bit I'm reading right now.
and he's a school student, and yeah,
Yeah, it's just a
they
mess.
they like try so hard in the comics to make him just be like this busy like everybody man, and then
Yeah, and oh, poor Debbie. I'm reading the parts with Debbie now, and I hope they never introduce her in a movie because I couldn't read. You think he's an asshole in Spider-Man 2, Chad? What, Debbie? Every single time she's like, she loves him so much, and he's like, yeah, let's go on a date, and then he constantly dives out for Spider-Man business.
Wow.
No matter what, he can't just like let someone else handle it. He has to dive out and just abandon her, and she gets so depressed. Then she gets a new boyfriend, and he gets all upset.
Yeah, I hate that.
that's literally your concerns with Spider-Man 2. Like it's
Yeah,
literally
it's
your
in the comics
Exactly.
as well. It's a comic accurate movie.
It's stupid. It's so dumb. It's
Listen,
like,
not
dude,
everything about
if
the
you can't,
comics are not the end all be all. Like
No.
that's
well,
the
it's like
problem.
if you can't
Purists are
maintain
so
a girlfriend, you can't have one. I get that he wants to have a normal life. I completely do, but it's like, dude, if you realize you can't have a normal life, you need to go the Batman path of just saying, forget it then. You know
Yeah.
what? Just I'm not even gonna try because it's not worth hurting other people.
Do you not?
Yeah, exactly. It's the one thing about that whole situation that I think that Batman even did remotely right.
I think on the topic of this, you know how they've said one of the characters we already know is gay? Have you heard the theory that that's MJ and she's gonna deny him, reject him? In this universe, she's gay and she'll. I kind of
why not?
like that because I don't want MJ again.
I don't even like this version of MJ, but it is what it is.
But I think I'd rather her like he go, oh, I have a thing for you, MJ, and then he's like really into her like in the comics, and then she's like, yeah, about that, I'm into women, and then he ends up with Black Cat because we haven't seen Black Cat yet.
That would be amazing.
And
I would like that a little bit, yeah.
What better way to mature him than a rejection from the one he loves, and then he ends up.
The MJ I wanted, though, is literally I wanted the one from Spectacular Spider-Man because in my mind, she was like dead on perfect. Like she was a badass. She did her own thing, but she was still like, his love interest.
Yeah.
But she wasn't like, she in no way, shape, or form was a damsel in distress in Spectacular Spider-Man.
I think the PS4 Spider-Man.
Yeah, I was going to say.
She was great in that game. She was awesome.
You got to play as her.
She was the perfect amount of damsel, but then on the other flip side of the coin, like the badass at the same time too. Like she was only a damsel because she was so badass. She'd get herself into situations.
Yeah, she felt like a badass Lois Lane almost.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'd love for this MJ to be like, no, I'm not into dudes, and then he goes on to Black Cat, who's a little more independent, who's their own person. Maybe they can team up and stuff. Like it's actually, or on the other side, he ends up with Silk, who ends up as a superhero as well.
That would be awesome. I mean, we haven't seen that yet in the MCU. Well, no, never mind. Ant-Man and the Wasp. I was gonna say,
but
two superheroes dating, but
Black Cat's more of an anti-hero, so it would be its own dynamic. Silk would be more like the Wasp.
That could make a movie in itself if he's dating Black Cat and he's like trying to convince her like I want to be with you, but what you're doing is wrong, and she's like, well, leave me then, and he's like, no, I don't want to leave you, and that could make an interesting story.
Yeah. I think that'd be more interesting than seeing MJ or Gwen for the millionth time.
True.
And I don't want to see Debbie. So.
I mean, in all honesty, it's a really weird connection to make, but if you think about it, it almost makes sense. We'd almost kind of get like the Hawkeye and Black Widow kind of vibe from that kind of relationship between the two of them.
Yeah, but it could be more in depth than theirs because I think
because theirs is just all off-screen hints and shit like that. Like these two probably were something, but then Hawkeye got married and.
Yeah, exactly. I think with Spider-Man doing it all on screen and having that dynamic,
right.
Black Cat can lead into the actual villain of the movie as well. You could have it be Hammerhead, the Enforcers, Kingpin, whatever. Have it like a crime family movie. That's how she's introduced. I think that would be a really good way to do it.
That would be awesome.
Because what I would do is I'd have it so Hammerhead is trying to take over a part of New York, and then Kingpin it's Kingpin's land currently, and Hammerhead's encroaching on it or whatever.
So what you want is live action PS4 Spider-Man. That's what you want.
No, because I want the Enforcers. That's all I want.
I mean, that's fair.
We're never gonna get live.
You just stole Hammerhead's story, so from the PS4.
But it's because in the Netflix shows, we know Kingpin has a lot of land and he runs a lot of New York underground. So if you introduced, I don't know, maybe Hammerhead or someone else like Tarantula, and you had the Enforcers mixed into it and had like a bunch of these.
I see what you're doing here.
I love Tarantula. Every single panel he jumps in and he's like, I am South America's Captain America. He always jumps in and he announces that. He's like, I'm my own country's Captain America. And I'm like, you've told him this a million times. How many more times does Peter need to hear this?
See, though, that's the thing about it, though. Like, that's my favorite part about the Spider-Man comics, and just Spider-Man in general, is his villains were always so campy that it just gave him, it just fed him to build his one-liners. So in situations like that, he'd be like, yeah, I know, and it's
exactly
so perfect. It's
if
so
Tarantula cropped up in the MCU and he just dived in and went, yeah, I'm South America's Captain America, the jokes he could make.
I'll say you'd piss yourself laughing, wouldn't you?
I would.
You'd be so happy.
It's the best.
Would not have survived Endgame if that had happened. Would have had to have gone to the bathroom.
The fucking portals that Doctor Strange opens, Tarantula walks out and he just announces to Thanos. You may have beaten him, but
you fought Captain America, but now get ready for the South American Captain America.
Tarantula. Wait.
And I love that he's spider related. He's not he's not a patriot like Captain America. He just happens to be spider related.
He's the South American Captain America who bases his everything off of New York Spider-Man.
Like,
that would just be great. Like that would just be great. Like I would want him to like just show up and just be like, "Wait, you're not Captain America?" And he's just like, "No, I'm Spider-Man." And he's just like, "Well, what was all this for?"
Oh, now we're enemies. This is your fault. What have you done to me? My whole life's been a lie.
It was just like he just bases his entire costume off of a really bad translation on the news in his home country.
I mean, it's just a black costume with like a tarantula logo on it or some shit. I mean, that's what it boils down to.
I mean, yeah, that is true. Like, he's actually more like Black Widow. So.
Yeah, he's like a mix of all the secondhand superheroes.
And he tries to take on an A-lister like Spider-Man.
Oh yeah, like he has pointy stabby things from his toes.
Yeah, that's great. Pointy stabby things.
Yeah, and what else does he do?
So
and you want this guy to be in a movie?
That would really be the perfect thing for like a callback to the Amazing Spider-Man, where Holland's just like, "Oh no, knives, my weakness."
If we're gonna go secondary villains, I would honestly, I mean, I know they just did him in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. And we've seen him in live action already. I still think it'd be cool to see the Prowler.
Yeah, well, I think the thing is with Homecoming, they had Vulture, but then they had a shitload of secondary ones to build onto Vulture, and they did it so much better than Spider-Man 3 and The Amazing Spider-Man 2, because they didn't try to make every single villain the main villain. Every single villain was a supporting character to the main villain, like how Spider-Man has his own supporting cast. Yeah, like how he has Liz and he has MJ and Ned and Flash. He has them. Vulture had his own. So I think Mysterio could have some. I don't know who they'd be. Maybe Chameleon's one of them.
And then I'm hoping Mysterio's gonna yank Tinkerer again because
that would be cool.
I think Tinkerer got away, if I remember correctly, from them into Homecoming.
He might.
Like he's the only one who got away, I think.
I think Tinkerer needs to play.
Shocker died. So.
Yeah, Shocker got vaporized.
But there's another Shocker. So I think personally, I think Tinkerer should be the one that orchestrates.
This is not that kind of podcast, man. It's not that kind of podcast.
I think he should orchestrate the Sinister Six, though, all their gadgets and shit, like how he built a Vulture. But I think the main thing should be Scorpion recruits them all. You know, maybe he goes, Vulture, you're gonna help us kill Spider-Man, or I'll kill Liz.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't think Vulture would get dragged in any other way. Mysterio bitter from his loss.
Well, it's like he did at the end of the movie when, in the post-credits scene, when that inmate came up to him and was like, "I heard you know who Spider-Man is." No, what did he say? Like he said no, or I'm not telling. He said one of the two, but it's
he said no. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it's like, why are you protecting him? Yeah, it's like, why are you protecting him suddenly?
I think it's because you realized he's a kid and he knows the Scorpion guy would kill him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Vulture would have killed Spider-Man. I think all of that was just bravado. I think it was get off my back or I will kill you, but then he never would have done it.
Yeah, because he easily could have killed him.
I think he even said that too. He's like, I don't want to kill you. I will only kill you if you don't stop.
Yeah, but even then I don't think he would have because he's like...
Right. Yeah, no, I think it was very half-hearted.
And he's not like... He's not a supervillain in that sense. He's just a father trying to survive and provide for his family by any means. And I don't think he would.
People, but he doesn't like.
But he doesn't murder. He's not like Carnage, where he just murders people.
Yeah, I don't think he'd kill a kid or anything, and that's the thing. I think it would take something for him to get dragged into the Sinister Six. So I think threatening Liz would be the go-to, and then that would set up quite well, and then he could bring the Tinkerer in, and you could have some new suit be made for each character to make them more strong. And then really challenge Spider-Man. Or you could just have Mysterio open up a bunch of portals and have the Sinister 60.
Oh. That would be the best post-credit scene of all time.
Well, Mysterio starts opening portals and then
all the Sinister Six comes out, and that's like Spider-Man 3 or something. That would be amazing.
No, I'd probably Sinister cry. 60. Come on.
Oh, I thought you said Sinister Six. I'm like,
no, all 60 of them.
All 60? Oh, that's a dream come true.
That would be...
That'd be a hell of a movie. That'd have to be an
He'd be dead by the end of it.
I mean, he barely survived the original, the 6 when they first showed up.
It's
He
true.
got his ass kicked. I think I'd love to see it because he struggled against Vulture. He's gonna struggle against Mysterio.
Guarantee it.
Whoever the third
Unless
villain.
Yeah, but that's how it always goes. He struggles against one villain, and then they seem like everyone is just equal when they're fighting him later. I mean, that's like a trope of almost anything. I mean, like even James, you know this because you're watching the original Power Rangers. Remember how easily the Green Ranger kicked the entire team's ass, and then
Yeah.
as soon as he's on their team, they're all equal in power
Yeah,
anyways.
that's the problem. But I think with the
well
Sinister Six, what
well
they
to
could
be
do.
sorry, I was gonna say to be fair with the Power Ranger comment, the White Ranger was not nearly as strong as the Green Ranger.
True.
No, I mean
So
even when he was the Green Ranger.
yeah, but at the same time though, the Green Ranger in the original show was powered by the Green Rangers, like the Dragon Sword stuff power, and then also it was being boosted by Rita.
No, I know.
So
Oh, I
so
know. Oh, I've
I mean
watched it.
it's still plot device, but at the same time,
Right.
like that was why. Like so he loses the Rita connection, so he no longer has her magic for basically protecting him and boosting him.
Hmm.
Honestly, I prefer the new version of the Green Ranger with it being Rita from the new movie. Like that was a pretty dope turn of
Yeah.
events
Oh
for
well,
me.
we got a Power Rangers episode coming up, so
Yeah, we
we'll dive
do.
into that
Oh
again
hell
later.
yeah. But I think
Sorry.
if they're gonna do the Sinister Six, I think rather than weakening them all to equal power level, I think you'd have multiple spiders involved. So this is
Oh,
why I wouldn't do it
dude,
in
that would be
Spider-Man.
amazing.
I would not do it in Spider-Man 3 because I've seen people go, oh well, they just introduced two villains in a movie, do a 3, get it over and done with. Fuck no. Do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Spider-Man Sinister Six. Perfect name, perfect fitting in. By that
Hmm.
point, introduce Miles and Silk. If you
Oh
delve into the multiverse, maybe you can bring back Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield.
no, I want Spider Gwen. I
I
don't
want
want to see
Spider-Gwen as
those two
well.
ever again.
Spider-Gwen would be dope. Nah, see, here's my thing. If they pull in Toby and Garfield, what I would like for it to be, like honestly, since Garfield stopped being Spider-Man, I don't even know what the hell that man has done.
No.
Other than that army one where he didn't pick up a gun. Uh
Dunkirk.
yeah, that thing. Whatever. It was I didn't like it. Anyways.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. It's not Dunkirk.
Was it? I
Uh
thought he was in Dunkirk.
It was the one where he saved a bunch of people, right?
yeah, he
Yeah.
essentially
I
is
don't
just like,
know.
I'm not going to shoot anyone, and he just becomes like a field medic in a Call of Duty game.
Yeah.
Uh
Yeah, I know what you're talking
surprisingly
about.
doesn't get shot. Anyways, no, the thing that I was gonna say was like, especially particularly if they bring back Toby, what I would like for it to be is like a
Real quick,
much older
it was Hacksaw Ridge.
Yeah.
Hacksaw Ridge. That's it. But yeah, I
Yeah.
would like it to be a lot older Toby, like character wise, and actually almost have Toby do Peter from Spider Verse kind of Peter.
I
So
would
like the
rather.
down on his luck, things have kind of gone to shit.
I wouldn't want that Peter personally. I would want more. He's matured in like a. He's more violent. He's completely broken. Maybe MJ died rather than them splitting up. His Aunt May just died of old age.
Yeah, well, I mean that's essentially the same kind of thing, and that's kind of what I'm referring to though, like just
But
something
not like.
like an older edition, not like
Yeah, I wouldn't want him to wallow
don't
in his
bring
self.
back Spider-Man 3
No,
Spider-Man.
no, I wouldn't want him to wallow in his
Oh.
own self-pity. I want him to come back in a tactical, like a more tactical looking matured suit, not a sort of campy one. That's more aimed at like I'm gonna beat the shit out of these bad guys and maybe I'll even cross the line. I want that sort of Spider-Man to come in, who's like lost everything that's close to him. Like ever since Spider-Man 3, everything has just went to shit with
Ooh,
his
like
character.
Hmm.
fuck, what's his name?
Black and Black? Is it
No, I'm trying to think which Spider-Man was it that was very much like that.
Last Stand?
Um, Spider-Man alternates. I'm gonna look this up fast.
Because there is a few that are like that in the comics, and I'd love it if they did that. Andrew Garfield's maybe he becomes a chippier older one. I don't know, but I think Toby having that, and then what you can do from there is have Raimi make his Spider-Man 4 after all. But you can call it like Peter Parker or something. Do it like Logan.
See, I could have
Ben
seen.
Riley. Ben Riley.
Yeah,
Okay.
The all red with the blue hoodie. He
Yeah.
was a very, very violent.
yeah, exactly.
Very
Do
violent
something
Peter
like
Parker.
that. Have him so everything in his world is gone, and people he loves are dead, and he comes through to this new one, and he sees a young, chippy Spider-Man, and he's about to lose everything to the Sinister Six. and his one goal is to try and help him. I think that would be great. You could have Silk join the fray because they've already cast her. I mean, Miles Morales, I want him ASAP. So I think you could do it. Just don't do the Clone Saga.
No, oh, so it could go on forever?
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't do that in movies. There's no way. Too convoluted.
Also, maybe Old Man Spider. So I know they did it with Ezekiel Sims in the comics, but like you could still have an old man Peter Parker, just kind of essentially Old Man Logan coming in, kind of to do it like that. That could also work.
And then I think what is it? You know, in Spider-Verse, when not the movie, the comic, when they find Uncle Ben in an alternate reality and he's Spider-Man, I think Toby could be a bit like that. Maybe he's either he goes dark or he's given up the mantle and lost all hope.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result of doing that, the supervillains rose up and destroyed New York. And he's living. I think that's what happened. He was living in like the ruins of New York or something.
Oh wow.
And
I forgot all about that version.
Yeah, imagine if that's what happened to Toby's world. He gave up after Spider-Man 3 and everything went to shit in New York.
Honestly, I'm almost kind of wanting, if the multiverse thing is real, and like, I mean, we know it's real, but I mean, like, if like Mysterio's whole thing is real, and if he happens to be so here's the bad version of this movie coming out. If Mysterio happens to be a good guy, I almost would want, since one of the biggest villains is an actual good guy, I would want from his universe the heroes to have become kind of bad almost.
Oh, like Hydra Cap.
Almost kind of like that, but not as dumb. And so like for instance, Hobgoblin, where Peter Parker kills Green Goblin and takes on the position of Goblin and just becomes essentially an enforcer. But like he's just murdering people because they're doing bad things. So and then anybody who gets in his way also gets the spider bomb. So that's kind of what I would almost want, which I would almost also see Toby doing that also could work in my mind because of seeing him in Brothers and seeing him go psychotic. Like he has that other side of his acting personality that I just think that he really didn't get to do in the original Spider-Man because honestly, I think they pretty much will bring it.
There's so much you can do with the multiverse. I do think Mysterio is lying though because as like the universe names he gave, they're clearly comic ones, and the Spider-Verse one, they don't hold up, so he's lying. But I do think that they need to step forward from this and use the multiverse because you can do alternate reality movies and really go wild with it. Or you can continue just doing endless sequels. I don't know. I'd personally rather we got alternate stories. You could bring back Spider-Man 4. I mean, Sony would be happy with that. They'd be getting double the Spider-Man revenue.
Right.
Exactly.
Well, and then there's also the option, and this is kind of calling back to the very beginning of our conversation, when we were talking about Captain Britain and him potentially showing. Well, in Endgame, I mean, I'm sure you both know that Braddock's name got mentioned.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Braddock in one version also becomes Spider-Man UK instead of Captain Britain. So, like, we almost could get Spider UK instead of Captain Britain. I don't know which one I would prefer. Or if we got the multiverse thing going, we could almost get both. Like,
I think you'd have to do Captain Britain first, so that people know the Britain Corps and they know who he is.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And now that we've lost Captain America, we need a good captain again.
Yeah, I mean Captain Marvel, I thought maybe after her solo movie, but after Endgame, not so much.
She was awful in Endgame. I hate her so much now.
But Captain Britain.
Save that for next week. We can talk about that then.
But Captain Britain, I feel like if they're going to London and they don't introduce him in some capacity, what are they doing? Because are we supposed to believe that New York is home to every superhero in existence? Why wouldn't England have their own ones? So if the Elementals attack, what the fuck are they going to do? If a supervillain attacks England, what are they going to do? They have to have heroes.
That's why I want Captain Britain, because I want to see him. That's why I want to see Captain Britain, because honestly, I want to see a movie that, so we had Wakanda, we have Black Panther, took place in Wakanda, different places, but I want to see one that takes place in London also, because I think that you just visited America, completely different cultures, right?
Yeah, with so it'd be not at all similar. Yeah, I think the biggest thing.
Yeah, we're kind of cucks.
Because in Shang-Chi we're gonna get some Asian sort of representation going, which is great. We got some African representation. That was really nice to like honestly, it was so much more refreshing than New York again. And now Spider-Man's going across Europe. That's really cool. But then I feel if the Elementals attacked and he wasn't there, what the fuck would have happened? Are we supposed to believe that Shield would just go to England and America governs the whole supervillain thing? They handle every supervillain no matter where they are? Because to me, that's just lazy. I'd rather we got, the Elementals attack London and Captain Britain and his corpse come out, and Spider-Man's like, oh shit, hey.
Exactly. That's what we need because, like you just said, what's the whole point of this planet then if there's no heroes anywhere else and they just all happen to be in America and Wakanda?
Because they got introduced in Wakanda, so we know that Wakanda has Black Panther. We know that we're going to have Shang-Chi now. That's in Asia. Why wouldn't Europe have theirs?
We need it.
I don't see why we like England would. Come on, like great.
Boys.
We had Union Jack and Agent Carter. Though Agent Carter went on to found a spy thing in America. Fuck you, you traitorous bitch. No, I love Agent Carter. I'm just so bitter that she went to America, not England. You could have founded the Captain Britain Corps, but no, you founded Shield.
Oh, she came here instead.
Oh yeah, well that's fine. Yeah, I would have personally had it. So she found what would have been really cool. She found Captain Britain Corps in Captain America's memory, and then you'd have Nick Fury's a mantle that's passed down, and he found Shield, and then it's a different Nick Fury.
Yeah, my thing is I don't know if that's the route that they'll go with it. I mean, it would be really interesting, but I don't know that. I mean, I guess it makes sense with the whole Braddock being mentioned like way back when.
Yeah.
So that makes the most sense, but
there's a lot of English heroes though. Like, why wouldn't there be any introduced when he goes to London? Because if they don't, it's such a missed opportunity. And Sony want the heroes. Like, I think that was part of the deal, is a hero has to be present in every single Spider-Man movie. I don't think Happy counts. I don't think that like.
Nick Fury might.
Nick Fury maybe, but I don't know. They don't.
Because that's almost kind of cheap. Like almost like they're cheating us with that.
Yeah. Because it's like we got Iron Man in Homecoming, and then I think Far From Home we should get. Like, I'm so excited to have Nick Fury. I'm getting huge Ultimate vibes with it. Because I loved in Ultimate when he's like, when you turn 18, I own you. I'm so excited to see that because he's turning 18 and Nick Fury's utilizing him and making him fight. That's great. So I'm really excited to see that. But at the same time, I think seeing another hero would be nice. And what better than Captain Britain when he's going to London?
What better than Captain Britain, but following the theme of the last movie, like we talked about earlier, how we had Tony and creating Vulture.
Yeah.
We might just end up with Strange.
Strange would fit, yeah.
Like, he would fit the most, like, in all honesty. I mean, other than the fact that, like, Captain Britain just fucking lives there.
See, I think we get Doctor Strange in his backstory. I think he might be mentioned. I don't think he'll actually be there.
Or at least the ancient one. At least the ancient one.
Yeah, because
I would think maybe he's not there before the ancient one lets Strange in. And
I don't think we're going to see them. I don't think they're going to do Vulture again, because then it'll become very formulaic. Each movie we see their backstory, then we delve into modern day. I don't think we'll do that.
Not Steve, but I think like it'll be mentioned. So like maybe
that's what I mean.
Strange.
So we won't see them, but then
ancient one.
But I'd also love to see a hero, so I think that's where he'd come in, Captain Britain. The problem is, though, they don't care about England, I don't think. London will just be another stop on his trip around Europe, I don't think.
I don't know. You know what? Stop and think about it, though. After what happened in Thor the Dark World, because remember that was London, right?
Yeah.
Where the attack happened? They could retroactively fit it, so after that attack, London started setting up its own hero task force or something,
like Shield or something, their own Shield.
Yeah, like their own version, because they were just like, oh look, Thor happened to be here. If he hadn't been here, we'd have been fucked.
Yeah, because I think that's what happened when Thor came to America. Nick Fury was instinctively like, it's time to bring back the Avengers Initiative, time to get that back into motion, time to create the weapons.
And that's actually that's actually the biggest anti-reasoning, like the reason against Captain Britain being there is because if she made Captain Britain back then, after Captain America disappeared, like, why wasn't he there during Thor: The Dark World? Why wasn't he
Well,
even
the
mentioned?
Dark World's a mistake anyway, so it's fine.
I mean, that's
I'd get rid of
fair.
that anyway.
I mean, that's fair, but I'm saying like,
Oh yeah, but I'm saying like if I were to
because they
retroactively go
have
back and alter the MCU, like you could fix things like that, but
right.
like in
But
hindsight, that's how I
but
did.
they didn't take that advantage with Endgame, so.
No, I think in Thor: The Dark, they were in London. Yeah, I could see them setting it up after that, and if they haven't, well then England are idiots. And to be honest, that
Like
would be
then, I'm
better.
just saying, like it would make sense. Like I'm totally for them bringing in a Captain Britain. I just don't think it'll be Braddock then
No,
because he was alive when Captain America was alive. Unless it's
but
like a
then the
long
aging
lost.
process.
Do what? The
The
what?
aging process is a lot slower if it's the super soldier
Right,
serum.
but that's the thing. If he had been given the super soldier serum, if he'd survived and became a Captain Britain kind of person back then, wouldn't he just
I'd have it
be
be his
Captain
son.
Britain already? Or B, we already saw that when Captain went back, he became old.
Yeah,
So he would
I'd
be
have
old
it.
by now. So,
Well, Cap was 70 when he went back.
and that's fair. That's
But
fair.
I think I'd have it either be his son or a new person. Either way, I think Spider-Man has so many characters that he can bounce off of, and I think he's one of them. Human Torch, Deadpool, Captain Britain. Those three are the ones I want to see him with the most. We have to see him with Deadpool now. The deal's gone through at some point, preferably when he's an adult.
The only time I will be okay with a PG-13 Deadpool is when he's with Spider-Man in a movie.
Exactly.
It's the only time I'm gonna be okay with it.
Because the comics were great with Spider-Man and Deadpool. Those are
I
PG.
literally rewatch the Amazing Spider-Man TV show, just that episode.
The
every
Ultimate
so
one
often.
as well.
Yeah.
The Ultimate one.
That's the one I mean. That's the one I mean.
Yeah.
Where you said
Booby
traps.
traps.
Oh my god.
I
I want to do a Deadpool episode. Sorry, we'll move on. Spider-Man.
Yeah, you can see him with Deadpool, right? Yeah, all right, Spider-Man 4 or 5 maybe, but
yeah.
he has to be an adult.
Even if it's just a cameo, like
Yeah.
a extended scene cameo.
Yeah,
like,
that sort of thing where he bumps into him on one of his trails or some shit.
Like that old meme. Oh god, what was it? When they were just like one of the scenes in like the Avengers Tower should just be them talking like all serious like they did around like the Hammer when they were doing the Hammer game, and just like Wade just like walks in and like microwaves a burrito and like people like recognize him. They're like, "What are you doing here?" He's like, "Oh, wrong office" or something like that, and then like jumps out the window and then like he splats and then he's like, "What the shit, Parker?" And then like that would like be the scene. Like I would like even just that would be like enough for me.
See, I would love to see him. I'd love to see him bump into Parker when they're both going after the same villain. That sort of thing.
It's just like be like looking him up and down with like the black and red suit and just be like, "You stole my shit."
Yeah, exactly. Or another one is Daredevil. I'd love to see him hang out with Daredevil at some point. It has to be Charlie Cox as well.
I'm really hoping that that's what they do with those guys, because I mean, the overall shows like for like Jessica, for instance, wasn't all that great, but
Daredevil, you can't
all their character, like all the actual actors and characters did pretty well in their own right, like just looking at the character. So seeing any of them show up like in a Spider-Man would be like great, because it could also transition into being like actual movies versus just the TV series.
Yeah, I think Luke Cage is the one that'll transition the easiest. He's the most lighthearted, I feel, even though he's in still quite a dark series. So I could see him popping up in a Spider-Man movie as well.
If say Spider-Man 4 like introduces the Rhino at all.
Oh,
and, like,
that'd be cool.
We could have Luke Cage just like essentially mid-fight fist bumping Rhino like to stop him. Like that would be dope as hell.
They say
Spider-Man's just like, "What?" And he's just like, "I'm Luke." And just like starts off.
What if Spider-Man continues Iron Man's whole looking for heroes thing as well? Because Luke Cage went viral.
I would be very sad. I'm not gonna lie, because I really don't want this to turn into him becoming Tony Stark.
No, but he wouldn't become Tony Stark. He would just continue things that he was sort of doing. He'd be a totally different and unique character in comparison, but still looking out, finding what other heroes he can help out there.
Yeah.
Because Tony helped him, got him off his feet, gave him better equipment. He could go and do that for others.
He only did that because he wanted him to fight on his team in Civil War.
Yeah,
That
but
really
Spider-Man
was
would be
good.
more. You know, Spider-Man's a better person than Tony, though. So
Oh,
he would.
Right.
by
Well, that's
far.
and so
It's
bouncing
not hard to
back
be
to
a better
Civil
person
War,
than Tony Stark.
No, it's
bouncing
not.
back to Civil War, like how completely ridiculous is it of a concept? Like I think you were kind of getting at that earlier, that Tony Stark would go find a 15-year-old to bring into a battle of the superheroes.
A
Why
high
especially-
school freshman fighting off against the Avengers.
Especially knowing that there's a potentially murderous Red Witch who's on the opposing team. Like,
what I
Okay,
don't get is
here's the thing. In Civil War, if everybody had gone balls out, there would have been dead bodies everywhere.
yeah, they were holding back.
They were all holding back.
But Luke Cage went
which
viral, right?
is actually literally the reason why I think Feige said that they just completely wrote out the Hulk and had him come back in Thor, him and Thor. Because
they
if
wrote
they were
out
involved,
the Hulk because that's why they wrote him out, because they knew whatever team.
Because it would just destroyed everything.
Exactly.
Like you would have had to have put Hulk versus Thor in the Civil War because it's the only way you'd balance things out. And then we would just get another Hulk versus Thor fight like we got in Avengers,
and Thor never would have cared
really
about Thor never would have cared about the Accords or Bucky anyways. He would have been like, this isn't my fight. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Right. He literally would have. Yeah. He would have just been like, I'm an alien. So.
Yeah, because they're not gods anymore. I forgot.
Yeah, they're just aliens. But
still. So you know who I want to see in a Spider-Man movie? As a villain, I want to see Kraven, because I think if you have Kraven, that in itself could be an extremely villain-heavy movie, because you could easily make Kraven a very deep character.
The problem is though that which is really annoying, Black Panther was meant to have Kraven.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, but then Sony wouldn't let him do it in a Black Panther movie. I think that's because they wanted to do their own Kraven solo movie though, so I don't think we're gonna get him in a Spider-Man movie, unfortunately. Because
a Kraven solo movie would be such a waste of time, and
that's what it's gonna be though. It's like Morbius, Kraven. I don't see the point in doing these characters without Spider-Man. Morbius maybe, but
yeah, I was gonna say I can see Morbius.
But it's like I'd rather see him. I'd rather see him against Spider-Man though. Like that's why it's the best. If you're gonna do a solo vampire, just do Blade.
Some of these, my biggest problem with a lot of comic book villains, like there are some that can probably pull things off on their own, such as like Joker could probably pull off something on his own, which I'm really excited for the Joker movie.
Oh yeah, Venom and Carnage.
But Venom and Carnage will probably actually be a lot better than the original Venom was. And then, but the problem is that a good majority of them are so reliant on their heroes that like to make them like a good character, like oh gosh, I'm trying to think of who, like let's go Batman, Mad Hatter.
Yeah.
Like that would be a terrible solo film. But yet if Sony owned it, they would do a Mad Hatter. So...
Yeah, they would. But the thing with Kraven is he's always been like a really dumb character from the beginning. Like he got better with Kraven's Last Hunt, but the whole thing was that he was just some guy that hunted animals in a reality TV show. Then he's like, I'm gonna do the best thing ever, and I'm gonna hunt Spider-Man. And then everyone's like, dude, that's a person. What the fuck's wrong with you? And he's like, that's fine. Then he loses and he gets really bitter. How are you gonna do any of this shit without Spider-Man?
It's pointless, because who is he gonna fight? What, are they just gonna like, we're gonna do a Steve Irwin ripoff type movie or some shit?
No, you know what? I don't know if you've ever read it. Well, you probably haven't, James, because it's an American education system. But we got one of the books that we got made to read when I was growing up was essentially this. I think it's called The Greatest Game or something like that, and it's literally about a guy who goes to visit this rich, eccentric billionaire on his private island. To like he won a trip for hunting, and like he was just like and the whole premise was like if you survive the hunt, like you win a bunch of money. And like he doesn't think about it, but it turns out like the guy is getting humans because he wants to hunt humans because it's the most dangerous game.
Oh, I've heard of this.
So essentially the same kind of story as Predators when they were when the Predator was pulling all of the most capable warriors from Earth, so it was all spec ops people essentially.
That was such a bad movie.
It wasn't a great movie, but like that premise was stolen from that book essentially.
It's just going to be Venom all over again, though. It's going to be shit. It's not going to work.
Probably, but I'm thinking that's what they're going to probably do. Is what they're going to probably lead it
With
into.
some shitty jokes.
They're gonna lead it into having him hunting humans, so it'd be basically predators, and then he's going to be like
I just
gonna
don't
probably
see
end
the
with
point.
him. It's probably gonna end with him being like, I've done this 100,000 times and now it's getting boring. What's next? And then like he sees Spider-Man on the fucking television.
But they're not going to do Spider-Man with it. They're not going to tie it together. It's a villain verse without him.
I mean, yeah,
so
but it may not be Spider-Man, but like something.
Venom. Fuck it.
Like
I could see them doing that.
Oh god, if they make Venom completely the hero, like
what a waste.
I'm really hoping that the Carnage movie turns Venom like bad.
They're doing Carnage PG-13, so I don't think there's any reason to do
if that's PG-13, there's no point in seeing it.
Are you serious? He said that.
They announced it.
Carnage doesn't have to be R-rated. He's a complex character.
Fuck Avi Arad. Fuck everything he's done to the comic industry. Seriously, I'm so tired of him holding shit back.
If it wasn't for Sony, we would have had Kraven, Killmonger, and Claw, the KKK, inside of Black Panther.
Can Avi Arad just like retire or something, please, and somebody competent be in charge of the Sony department?
Can Sony just go under? That'd be nice.
I'd rather. I wouldn't care at this point.
I don't want to lose my PlayStation, but like at the same time,
Sony
fine. They can shut down their shitty little film studio that just churns out garbage.
Yeah, Sony Pictures. That's
keep your video game system going, but screw your movie studio. It sucks, and all they make is, aside from a good movie every now and again, all they turn out is garbage anyways.
Last good Sony movie.
It's Into the Spider-Verse.
This is technically Spider-Man like related. So
Spider-Man is the only thing keeping their film studio afloat. I mean, Jesus, this is the same studio that gave us the Emoji Movie and the Ghostbusters remake. I mean, they don't have ideas. They make trash, and their movies suck. So
I think Spider-Man, if he gets pulled from the MCU, I think even they know that'll just piss people off to the point where he's not going to make them money. He won't be their cash cow anymore. Because you have to reboot him, or
they're making that Brightburn movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That looks pretty good.
Well, you know what? Then that's a lesson they need to take. Start going low budget and stop sinking hundreds of millions into movies. Seriously.
Yeah. But honestly, like, they pull him out of the MCU, they know they're done. There's no way, because you'd reboot him. That's the only way. He's so tied to the MCU now. So I think
and Amy Pascal's pretty stupid.
She is, but I don't think she will, because everything they're doing right now doesn't need Spider-Man. They've got the animated stuff, which has their own Spider-Man in it, so they don't need him there. They've got the Spider-Gwen movie, the Spider-Verse, which is Miles Morales centric. They've got their own little Venom-verse. They don't need Tom Holland out of the MCU.
It's like, if they want to like do that, then just make their if they're gonna do a live-action Spider-Man like universe within the Sony universe, do Miles or Gwen then. God damn it, you don't have to have Peter. Jesus.
My whole thing, because
for their live actions, like if they're gonna tie Venom or like a live-action Kraven, make it Miles or Gwen they're going after. It doesn't have to be Peter.
Well, it's not Peter, it's Venom. That's the problem. They're using Venom as their hero, and I don't understand, because you've got Spider-Man 2099, you've got Spider-Gwen. Go
off the books, do something like that. Give us a movie on that. How fucking awesome would that be?
A futuristic one? It'd be so good.
And we'd all love to go see something.
And those futuristic versions of the villains would be so different from the modern ones that we could have them in both their verse and our MCU verse, and it would be fine. You could have had Kraven in Black Panther. Instead, we're getting a solo movie. Imagine how cool Kraven would have been.
Isn't it Avi Arad who straight up said he'll never do like a live-action Spider-Man movie that doesn't have Peter as Spider-Man though?
I don't know. I mean, Amazing Spider-Man would have been Miles, but...
Oh, Amazing Spider-Man definitely should have been Miles. That was the stupidest decision in the world, to reboot Spider-Man just a few years after Spider-Man 3 came out and just restart. It's like, really? Do something different, you idiots.
I think Marvel Studios will be the ones that get us a live-action Miles Morales first. I think we might get lucky with them, because I don't see Peter being the only Spider-Man in the MCU for 6 years. I don't think they would do that.
They did Ghost Rider. That was one of theirs also.
Oh shit, yeah.
They just don't have they did the original Hellboy, so that's a comic book movie going for them, I guess. But
well, yeah, Spider-Verse was their best work. I think
yeah,
that was really good.
Spider-Verse, but they actually have like over 250. Like I guess we can't really kill them because
Well,
they
Sony
they have some good. They have some
Sony
good
was
on the
good. They're
list.
not anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like when they started doing Spider-Man, that's when they just gave up. That's when they were just like, "Hey, look, we've got Spider-Man. All we got to do is put out a Spider-Man movie, and we're gonna make money."
The
Just
MCU deals the best.
damn every other project.
Like they made Zombieland also.
True.
And
okay,
so,
a few hits every now and again, but Spider-Man is their like
but like it's
shit
mostly like
people.
yeah, it's like mostly family stuff for the most part.
But the
But, like,
MCU deals the best thing that's happened to both Sony and the Spider-Man character, I'd say. I think before that, we were just going to see reboot. It was going to end up being so stale. If it wasn't for Tom Holland, we would have had another Spider-Man universe that would have lasted like 3 movies if we're lucky.
Maybe.
But this one, he's been in 6 movies now, right?
Civil War, Homecoming, Infinity War, Endgame.
Far From Home.
So Far From Home will be 5.
All right, yeah. So and then we are getting a 3rd movie, so that's 6. He'll probably cameo in some other movie, so he's going to have a lot of appearances. He's probably the most fully fleshed out Spider-Man we've had so far. He's had the most development, I think.
Probably the most enjoyable, also. I mean, I
Yeah.
couldn't stand it when I was younger. I enjoyed Tobey Maguire. Now I can't even fucking
He's
stand
a horrible
seeing
person.
him.
Andrew Garfield's a horrible person. They were both
Andrew Garfield.
not the actor, but his character. Both of their Peters were really terrible people, and I think Tom Holland's is so pure.
Exactly. Yeah.
He is what Spider-Man is in the comics. He's an everyman, or an every child, I guess, at this point, teenager, whatever. But he's so likable. He's not like Liz left, and he's like, okay, I'm gonna leave her. I'm moving on with my own life. He didn't hound her. He didn't harass her. MJ, I feel if MJ rejects him, you'll be like, okay, I'll move on. I don't see him being this clingy prick that he was in the other movies. I don't see him like, the best promises are the ones we break, that sort of shit. I don't see him doing stuff like that.
No. The only reason I like that is because it went against what we thought how the ending was going to be. Everyone was like, oh, another cliche ending where, oh, look, same as the original one. But at least it went off books.
True, but I think I'd rather have seen him delve into Black Cat in Amazing Spider-Man 2, because that universe felt like it would have fit her in so well.
Definitely.
But they never really, they just went Gwen, and I thought, okay, well, it's not MJ, I'll give you that, but I don't know.
That's all I'll give you.
Yeah, I'm hoping this one, I don't want to see MJ get, well, we're getting an MJ that's more modernized, which I like. I know a lot of people don't like her character, but I know people like MJ in high school, our equivalent of it. I know lots of people like MJ. She's such a realistic character. I believe that that's the kind of person you'd run into. I wouldn't believe you'd meet that redhead MJ from the comics anymore. I just don't see it. But I think you'd meet someone like Michelle. I don't think you'd meet someone like Mary anymore. So I think they're doing a good job at modernizing the character, and the whole point of Spider-Man is to be relatable. But I still don't want MJ again. I don't see the point.
So they kind of brought up something, because the way you're talking about is the way the characters were, the Peter Parkers were in those movies. Mm-hmm. So without naming a name, a certain someone we know hates Doc Ock from Spider-Man 2 because it's so different from the character.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not comic accurate. But he swears to God that Andrew Garfield is the best iteration so far. And yet he's like the most Peter Parker we've ever had.
He's such a scumbag.
It's like
A, he's a dick. B, he's super...
I ride on a
skateboard. Skateboarding stuff. He's super athletic. Before
he was a hipster.
He was an athletic hipster before he even got the powers. And like the one thing I'll at least give like Tobey Maguire's was like, I don't know how they set it up for him to do it. Like I guess they must have done the original scenes and then like they waited a little bit and like let him like work out a bunch. But like he actually physically changed from getting the powers from before. He was just like this flabby, like nerdy guy. Like, I mean, he wasn't like fat or anything, but like he still wasn't like in shape. And then all of a sudden, like he was cut. He woke up and he was cut.
Yeah, I think they did it really well.
And like Andrew Garfield was like the exact same before and after.
I just think his
Like,
Peter
did he even
was.
wear glasses? Like, he had reading glasses. He didn't have regular glasses. He had reading glasses.
His
So,
Peter
like,
was terrible, but I think then you get to Tom Holland's
Well,
and you can see that like he doesn't know what to do with the power either. I think the other two they just
Well, that's what you gotta, and you gotta remember when it comes to Amazing Spider-Man 2, that was literally, not the second one, the first one. When it comes to Amazing Spider-Man, that was literally just, oh shit, we don't want to lose the license. Quick, churn out some bullshit.
yeah.
We don't have time to come up with an idea. Fine, just rehash his origin, whatever. Rehash his origin and get it done. Quick,
remove
quick. Gotta do
MJ,
it.
put in Gwen. Make it at least a little different.
Yep,
You know,
change a few things,
copy
but
my
make it the
homework, but
same
change
shit.
it a little.
Yep. So we're gonna skip Uncle Ben this time, right? Nope. Gotta have Uncle Ben. Gotta do that again.
See, I think the MCU did Uncle Ben in their own way, but it was such a better way of doing it because people keep calling him, oh, he's.
We didn't need to see it again. It's
Exactly,
like,
but the way they
I've
did
heard
it.
other people say, sometimes you can just. It was like, I mean, okay, I know it's polarizing. I know a lot of people don't like Batman vs Superman, but you know what? We didn't get his origin, and I'm hoping with the next upcoming Matt Reeves movie, we don't get it either. We don't need it. If you don't know this character's origin and you claim to love superheroes, why haven't you watched other movies with them in it before?
But that's
like, seriously, we don't need it anymore.
We didn't get Uncle Ben with Spider-Man this time, and I think that's great. But we did get elements of it with Tony, and I think people call him Iron Boy, and they keep calling him like like, oh, he's so reliant on Iron Man. He's just the Iron Kid. He's the new Iron Lad. But I think Robert Downey Jr. has left the MCU, and would we have ever gotten a Spider-Man with Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man if we didn't do all this? Like, if the MCU didn't do that, I imagine the missed opportunity. Why do you want another Spider-Man that's independent? We've had 2 series with that. The whole point of him being in the MCU now, the whole reason people are excited is that he can interact with these other characters. And ones that are leaving, like, we're never going to get Captain America and Iron Man, these 2 guys' version of it again. And now we've seen Spider-Man interact with them. We wouldn't have had that otherwise.
I almost don't even want another Iron Man at this point. Like,
I definitely don't.
MCU is like both giving us exactly what we've wanted since we were kids, reading comics and watching animated shows, and at the same time ruining it for the rest of our lives.
Exactly.
Well, it's like they say, you know, every journey has an end, and it's like there's some people who I know who were like, they were like straight up, they were like, nope, if any of them die in this movie, they're just gonna recast them, and we're gonna get Tony and Steve again. I'm like, no, we're not in this universe, we're not. Like, in the old days, like the 90s, if we did this, yeah, they'll just swap out actors. But it's like, we get attached to these actors playing the roles. They're not just going to swap them out anymore. They can't. They can't. They did it at the beginning of the MCU, back before Disney had it. Now they're signing these big contracts saying you're going to be in it for X amount of time. And they're not just suddenly going to have Captain America or Iron Man again played by a new actor. And they're not going to do it with Tom Holland.
War Machine.
You know? That's what I'm saying. That was back in the beginning before they started doing. That was back before they started doing, you know, the big contracts and planning out. Okay, this is gonna last us. You know, I get, like, think about it. Back in 2008, you really think Kevin Feige ever thought he was gonna have anything like Civil War? I don't think so. I honestly, I think that whole, like, I think it was like, what was it, a couple of years ago that, oh, I've got this big plan. I think he was full of shit. I think he's doing it in 5-year segments, because it's like, I don't think like that 5-6 years ago he's like, oh, I've got stuff
waiting for each phase to end, and they're just like, God, if this works, we'll go to the next one. But right now, all we've got is this phase.
I loved what they did with Tony's character though with Spider-Man, because whilst we never did get Uncle Ben, which is great, they used him in the same way that the other 2 movies used Uncle Ben, but it was a character we were already attached to from the start.
Yeah, somebody we actually cared about.
Exactly. So when he died,
the reverse too. So when Parker died, and we all felt for Tony, like we were just like, oh my God.
We saw the 2 Elseworlds, but I think the huge thing is that when Iron Man died, we felt more connected with Spider-Man's emotions than we ever have with his Uncle Ben moments. So it's like he's going to mature as a character, and we're going to understand it and be more sympathetic than we ever have been. And I think doing it over the course of I think 4 appearances, that made it a lot better than over the course of like half an hour.
What do you think of that line Happy said in the new Far From Home trailer when he was talking to Peter, and he was like, if Tony had known you were going to be here, I don't think he would have done the snap or something like that. I was like, I don't get what that means, because
I think a lot of the thing in Endgame, a lot of the I don't think he would have wiped out Thanos or whatever. I don't think he would have, put his life on the line if he didn't know Spider-Man or Peter Parker was alive. I think he wanted to make sure,
Yeah,
like
that's
the
what it
whole
was. I was gonna
reason,
say that's what it was.
the
Yeah.
whole reason he came back to do the time travel was he wanted to keep his child, but he also wanted to bring Spider-Man back because we saw he had the picture of him. We
Yeah.
saw how much he cared for him. I mean, they really did have a father-son dynamic.
It was
And it was
literally
like,
just
it was
Peter.
one he didn't want to admit either. It was like,
Yeah.
he was a dick to him through most of Homecoming, but it was like, you could tell it was one of those, I'm not secure enough to admit my feelings that I care for you. But
Exactly.
like that, when he died in Infinity War, I mean, you saw how broken his face
Oh
was
yeah,
when
he
Peter
was
disappeared.
crushed.
That was
Yeah.
like, that was probably the most, I mean, most people, oh, he was the most broken up at the end of Civil War in that fight. I think Spider-Man dying broke him more than the end of Civil War did.
Yeah, and I get that people think the snap deaths that came back have no impact, but I don't see it that way. I really don't, because people are going to be so emotionally torn after coming back from the dead because they remember it. That's a huge thing I said they should do.
That's what I'm looking forward to,
Oh
in
yeah,
all honesty, in Phase 4. So Black Panther 2. We need at least the beginning of it to like show him going back after Endgame to his
well,
country.
M'Baku's going to be the king,
And
so that's going to be weird.
right.
Because there was no,
But
because
well, I don't
M'Baku
see.
didn't, M'Baku might have taken over.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
police would have.
M'Baku probably will take over, but by the laws of Wakanda, the Black Panther is the one who has to lead, and I think they'll.
True.
And I don't think it'll be a hurt to M'Baku's character, but he will probably, with everything that went on in Black Panther, I guarantee he will probably just step aside for
I really
T'Challa.
hope he doesn't.
I hope he doesn't, but just the way that they had their relationship end in Black Panther,
Yeah.
He's going to almost.
But there has
guaranteed.
been 5 years, so you never know. But I think
True.
the whole thing is
Hell,
that with
he could be fucking Okoye at this point for all we know. Like.
yeah, that's true. I honestly think with the thing though, the snap does have impact because the snap is why Tony, it's part of the reason why Tony's dead now. I mean, seeing those deaths now in Endgame, Infinity War, I don't think they have any less impact at all. I think watching Spider-Man's death is going to be just as emotional because we know what that leads Tony to become.
Well, the things that led to those deaths now, because to me at first I was just like, if they're just going to bring them back, it doesn't mean anything. Again, I said this all before Endgame, and now after seeing it, now there's the 5-year jump, and Peter saying he knew he died. So it's like, add those two things together, that makes for those deaths becoming more than what they meant to me in Infinity War.
Yeah, because now they've missed 5 years of the world. They've the people that maybe they knew have grown up. People they knew may have killed themselves. Like, what if a pilot comes back and he finds that the flight he was, on, everyone in that's died? There's so much shit. The snaps aren't just. It's not a reverse like when Nebula did it in Infinity Gauntlet.
Right.
Yeah.
And
no
unfortunately, it's just with the way the scope of the MCU is, we might get flashes of it, but we're really not going to see that impact because.
No.
Because the next one is Far From Home, and it's not in-game length. It's going to be like an hour and a half, if that. And the whole reason in-game was so long was because they wanted to show that impact 5 years later.
No. The director and writers of Far From Home said that they're having a lot of fun delving into the intricacies and the aftermath of the snap. And
but I'm saying, like, we're probably going to see like things in the background, so like almost like references and stuff like that. But I don't think we're gonna have too much.
He's got to integrate back into a school that he's no longer like. It's been 5 years. How is he gonna get back into the school? That's gonna be a huge thing.
Yeah, well, they saved themselves on that one by fucking swiping his whole class and then putting him back.
Oh no, but he's still going back to an education system. The world's still changed, and it's not like he can just jump straight back to where he was. All of his teachers have aged. His head teachers aged.
You know what? I just thought. Go make your point, and then I'll tell you what I just thought of when you just said that.
But you're also going to have it so that they're living in a world where Iron Man's dead now, and they're going to be showing how that's impacted the world. You're also going to have the fact that the like we saw in Endgame, the car pileups, the streets being a complete mess, the entire infrastructure of America falling apart, and things didn't really move in 5 years. The world came to a standstill. And they said they're going to delve into all these little things, like probably as much as Endgame did. So I'm excited to see how they do that, because I think a big fear of mine is Far From Home is just going to gloss over it and be like, yeah, we're back to normal.
I hope not, because
Well, they
honestly,
said it's not going to be, so I'm excited.
Well, it's like honestly, it's like they almost could have used this as a good example. Like let's just say MJ was universally hated in Homecoming. Let's just go down that path. The 5-year time jump could have been the perfect opportunity for them to have been like, all right, people did not like that version of her. She didn't get wiped out in the snap. She aged 5 years. Some kid who was 5 years younger than them didn't get wiped out in the snap. And now it's been the 5 years. Now she's there. This could be their point where they can bring in, like you said, some more of those characters who weren't there initially. This is where a Harry could come from, or a Gwen could come from.
Or actual Mary Jane or so.
Oh, I don't think we need another Mary Jane.
I don't think we need to, but I'm saying like that's what like it opens the door for all of that.
Right. True. That was their opportunity where it's like the 5 years that took place, that's where they could have been like, okay, we wanted to do this character at this point, but we didn't, and now here's our opportunity to say, yeah, they were just really young. It's been 5 years. Now they're older. Now we're going to use them to the proper way they need to.
They might be to be fair, because there's a few new people in the social group that we don't know in the trailers. So who knows? But I'm honestly just hoping that by the time we get to Spider-Man 4 and 5, we'll have the Osborns and we'll have Black Cat, and we might have an appearance from Gwen, because they're delving into they've got so many characters I never thought we'd see, like Cindy Moon and shit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I can see them doing it. I don't see why they wouldn't. They've brought in so many Spider-Man characters the other movies didn't.
The loss of Stark and probably Stark Industries is going to leave a void that will be sucked up by Oscorp.
Well, yeah,
almost guarantee it.
Yeah, that's the thing. The Oscorp will probably have been a smaller company, probably smaller than Hammer, but now they can just crop up, because I think Stark Industries is still a thing. Like we see that with the check. It's probably run by Pepper or Happy, but I don't think it'll be nearly as big without a Stark at the helm.
Without Iron Man at the helm.
Well, even like Howard Stark.
Sure.
Even with him, I think it just has to be a Stark at the helm. I don't think Pepper Potts is fit to really keep the company afloat in such a way.
I still think we're gonna get an actual Iron Lad, and it's gonna make everybody who's hating on Peter as Iron Lad is gonna like just have to slap themselves, because
I just want to see an Iron Family movie.
Iron Man, that Iron Man 3 boy is going to become Iron Lad. It's almost guaranteed at this point.
What I want to see is a movie called Iron Family, and it's Iron Spider, Iron Lad, Rescue, War Machine, Ironheart against the Mandarin.
Like the actual Mandarin. I still think they could pull back Ben Kingsley and have him like just go on this warp, like finding the actual rings.
But they've already said the Mandarin's alive, so I just get a brand new actor in and make him so unbelievably overpowered and strong that it requires the full, force of the Iron Family. Rescue, War Machine, Iron Lad, Iron Spider, and Ironheart.
I don't know, man. Do I really want Pepper Potts back?
I think she was brilliant in Endgame, and I mean, I
don't think I ever felt a single one of Gwyneth Paltrow's. I don't think I felt her acting at all until that final bit of her talking to Tony.
Honestly, I thought she was really good in Endgame. So I
when she showed up in Endgame and like that whole like you can rest now thing, like that almost got me. And then the Peter stuff, like only time I cried in the entire movie was when Peter like
I've wanted rescue since Iron Man 3, so I'm pretty fucking excited. I just want more of it. And I think her dynamic, if you throw in Rhodey and you throw in Peter Parker and you throw in all these others.
Didn't Gwyneth Paltrow state that she was done?
That's my biggest problem, because they've set up Rescue and they're ending it now.
She said she's done too.
But I don't...
She wasn't supposed to come back for Endgame, if I remember correctly. Her original statement was that she was done after Infinity War.
Oh, yeah.
She was done. And then I guess they probably just threw a bunch of money because they were just like, hey, we really need you for this last.
Unless she thought Infinity War meant part 1 and part 2, because that's what it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But I mean, personally,
That's possible.
I think they just dumped a buttload of money on her and just said, please just do this last one. You can go after this.
Guess what? We'll make you a superhero. It's gonna be great. You're gonna be
we'll put you in your own suit this time. You won't just sit on the sidelines.
Yeah, I liked her though. I think Gwyneth's she can pull it off. I'd love to see more of her. And I mean her and Peter they have a good dynamic. I felt they got along quite well. But I don't know. Tom Holland has chemistry with anyone. I think you could put him with anybody, and he's like Samuel L. Jackson in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm so excited to see him and Nick Fury. That's going to be the highlight of Far From Home.
Yep, Far From Home's going to be fun. I'm excited for it.
Want to wrap up our thoughts on it?
On everything in general, or or what we're thinking of Far From Home?
Everything in general. Future of Spider-Man.
Here's what I want. I want in the MCU, I want to see Holland keep going forward, and I'd like to see a Sinister Six at some point. That'd be awesome. I want to see Miles. I'd like to see them delve into the multiverse a little bit.
Yeah, and then I think Holland for Wolverine length 20 years. That's what I want.
And then for Sony's Spider-Man universe, I want to see them just start going off the books. Just start doing shit that MCU will never do. Like you said, give me the Spider-Man from the future. Give me a Spider-Man noir live action film or something.
Yeah, stuff just that they can't do.
Yeah, give me the stuff the MCU isn't and can't do, please.
But then you can always just say, oh, it's the multiverse, and have them cross over as well.
Exactly. Well, and again, going back to the old days, not everything has to connect. It's like
true, but I think the thing with Spider-Man is they always get pulled together in Spider-Verse, Spider-Geddon, these crossovers they have.
Right.
They're attached to each other. I think they're called spider totems.
Like give me a live action Gwen movie or something.
Oh yeah,
that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
But Avi Arad's holding them back, so who knows?
Yeah. I'd say I pretty much agree with everything that you just said when it comes to my expectations. If Sony, my other thing for Sony is if you guys aren't going to go the alternative routes and give us the alternative side of Spider-Man that we can't get from the MCU, then just quit. Like if you're just going to give us either MCU or shittier version, like just we don't need it. Like it's just a waste of the money at that point. Sell it off and call it quits. Stick to what you're good at. Your children's catchy movies, I guess, is what they are for the most part nowadays.
They're good video games. That's it.
I'd be happy if they took the risks like you said you want them to. Venom was not a risk. Venom was safe as shit. That would have easily fit into like the 2002 Spider-Man territory. It is not a risk at all. Making it R-rated would have been a risk, but I mean,
watching Venom, because this is Spider-Man related, watching Venom felt the same way of watching Suicide Squad, knowing that it was originally one way and it got turned something else to match something else.
Yeah.
But yet unfortunately Venom was the same all the way through. Like that's how they wanted it made. But that's what it felt like. It felt like watching something that was meant to be something else that got dumbed down because they wanted it to match something else.
He was overly violent but didn't have the rating that could allow for the action sequences.
Which is what we're going to probably get with Carnage. They're going to mention how badly he does things. Like they might say that he killed a school full of kids, but they're not going to show him killing a school full of kids.
Or in the
they'll have a cop look in a building and be like, "Oh my God, you don't want to see this. He tore those other cops apart," and then you'll just never see it. It's like,
and the
maybe some blood under the door. Like you might see that, but
like a drop or two.
or like a pool, like the pool coming out, like in a God, what was
quickly pan away from it.
Yeah,
all the action sequences are going to be choppy and shit. You won't see anything happening. That's what they did with Venom. I mean, you were implied that he was being really violent.
Oh, yeah, you're
those
right.
Those fights versus Riot were...
Yeah.
Every person whose head he bit off of, they cut away just the last moment.
Exactly, it's going to be like that, and honestly, I'm not excited for...
Even Shazam showed someone's head get ripped off.
See, I'm not excited for Sony's future because they're not going to be the new Fox. They're not going to take risks. That's not who they are.
I'm not excited for it, but I know what I want from them.
I think it's just going to end up being a bunch of Spider-Man 3s, and I'm not sure why it should exist. I don't trust them.
And we didn't really touch on nowadays, like, Spider-Man comics. We kind of talked about the history comics.
I haven't
But
read enough yet. I think
but
that's
I think my biggest want for Spider-Man in the comics in nowadays is for another big like Spider-Geddon kind of event
I'm
to happen.
sick of those. I just want him to go
Hmm.
back. Why
Well,
is there's been a crossover every week?
I mean like a big like all like timeline altering kind of like
Yeah, but that
event.
happened
Not
like
not just
last. I don't know. I
but
think
I,
I
but I
just
mean
I
like
want
but
him
I mean
to
like
age.
I mean like with like permanent repercussions.
I'm just
Like
pissed
There
off that
not
was there was one more day. Come on, that had permanent
oh yeah.
repercussions.
I'm sick, right?
oh it didn't it? I forgot about that one.
The
Not
thing
gonna
One
I
more
want
day
from the
was garbage.
the thing I want from the comics is Spider-Man to actually fucking age. Why is he still 30? Why is he in his 20s? He's all right, okay, 60s, and I just want to see an older Spider-Man, 40s, 50s.
Spider-Girl, that's the one you're wanting to look at because Spider-Man becomes older and like gives up essentially
No,
being
but
Spider.
I'm saying he stays Spider-Man in its main continuity. They've been copping out of it so much. Like, how can we keep making this guy young? I don't think they
Right.
need to.
The
I
You know
think
world,
what? Do
the
some
world, the world
shit.
around
Even give us an Elseworld story, like an old man Spider-Man or something.
they
I don't
do. They
know.
no,
have that. That's there. There
Oh,
is
do
an old
they?
man Spider.
I
It's
want
just not.
Green.
It's just not Peter. It's just not Peter.
Oh, well, fuck that then. That's not old man
It,
Spider-Man.
but it takes place in the time frame of Old Man Logan. It's like it literally is Old
Oh,
Man Spider-Man.
yeah,
It's
but that
just
was a Logan story.
some dude. Well, no, but he's not in it. That's what I'm saying. Like it's its own story.
Mm.
But he's it's like something Ellis, and he like Spider-Man dies, and he's like in his like 60s or some shit like that, and realizes that he also has the powers and he does
See,
old
no,
man.
I just
It's
want.
literally old man Spider-Man, but just so they don't fuck up Peter Parker's image. Is
Of
really what
course.
it is. It's what it is.
Cowards.
Yeah, I
Cowards.
So
mean, Spider-Man should be in his 40s, Miles should be in his 20s. I'm sick of the ages always being young. Marvel comics don't feel like they have any repercussions. Everyone stays
right.
young, everyone stays the same as they are, and nothing changes. And I think that's why people aren't buying comics anymore, because why do you want to keep reading the same
Yeah,
stories that
because
never lead
the
anywhere?
world around the main characters changes, but the characters themselves don't.
Exactly. What
Mm.
Captain America's the same man he was in the 40s. I don't see the point. Like when I read a book, I don't want the story to end with the character being the same. I don't want the story to end with them
I'll
being in
give
the
the
same
MCU
place.
that. I've never been a
Yep.
huge Captain America fan, but I'll give them that. They
Yeah.
made him they had him modernized as each movie went on.
And
And so
Spider-Man
now
has changed so much in his four fucking appearances already.
like you even
Mm.
could see in Endgame, like he basically was rolling his eyes at his original self. He's just like, this is what I was. Like
Yeah. He's come a long way, and I think Spider-Man already is, so I'm excited to see him grow up in the MCU because I think they'll actually change him. In the comics, though, I mean, I don't know. I think he's still young. He looks older in the original comics than he does now. And that just throws me off a bit. And on it, that's the thing I want from the comics with Spider-Man. Grow up.
grow up.
You don't need to be
All right,
30 all the
guys.
time.
All right.
Yeah, that's yeah. So we love Spider-Man.
Absolutely.
We just want him to grow the fuck up.
Yeah, I'm sick of him being young. I don't need that.
Just grow up, man. Grow up.
He should
I
be
did
a
it. You do it.
50-year-old. Hey, no, I'm only 18. I'm just sick of him being 18.
He's been 18 since my dad was reading him. When my dad was 18. My dad is 65 now. So
Yeah, I don't know. I think they need new direction in the comics, but at least Far From Home looks good. I think they're taking him to a new place,
yeah,
though.
yeah,
Mhm. It's gonna be
Yeah.
good. I'm excited for it.
If you guys
It'll
want
be
to
a
hear
good.
more ramblings, subscribe. Probably shit talk something else in the future.
Oh, we got some good shit coming up. Don't worry.
Power
like,
Rangers?
share, and subscribe.
Oh no, no. Oh god. Alright, that's
Don't
fine.
share this because I don't know how I don't know. There's some psycho spider fans out there. We might make some enemies with this.
Oh, you're right, actually. I just said
No,
it.
you know what? You know what? I'll be our comments person. I'll do this. I got this.
I
If
love
somebody
Iron
wants to blow
Boy.
up, I'll do it.
Iron Boy is the best iteration of Spider-Man there's been.
Oh, just drop the bomb.
Alright. Oh
That
well.
was Hiroshima right there. All right.
Thanks for watching, guys.
Lad to the rescue. The best Spider-Man ever.
Oh god. Yeah, thanks for watching, and if you want to see more, just follow us. think we've got a few things coming up. We've got the Endgame review. We've got a Power Rangers episode. Probably do a Detective Pikachu one at some point. A future of the MCU episode, a little less Spider-Man focused.
Basically, once Far From Home comes out and we do a review of that, since the MCU is going to be going quiet for a while, that's probably when it'll be best to move away from Marvel for a little bit.
Yeah, it's going to be Marvel centric
Absolutely.
until then. I probably
might as well.
Just because we're at the end, we're at the end game. So.
Exactly.
And then after that, I mean, I think DC is going to be picking up the pace at the rest of this year. So.
Yep, we'll have Joker, then we'll have Birds of Prey in less than a year. So.
Yeah, so it's not going to be too bad. So yeah, this is season 2's beginning, and I think this season will be about 13 episodes. And if you have any topics you want us to discuss, feel free to share them. I think there's quite a few we can talk about.
Give us some ideas. If you enjoy the chemistry we all have with each other, you like some of our ideas, the way we think, give us some ideas. You know, who knows?
If you hate James, let us know.
I know you can't hate the British guy.
Feel free. Just hate on me, the guy from Detroit. I don't give a damn. I'm used to it.
The old American.
Basically, I am the old American. I'm the old man of the group. It's okay.
I don't know, man. I'm 26, so.
I'm 32.
Okay, well there we go. Yep, fuck you, man. Old man Chad, right there with Logan.
Damn right. Thanks for listening, and guys, we'll talk to you soon.